In this video, I will talk about the couple of ways of array initialization method. First, let's talk about initialization with code example. Here is the first code initialized array. When we initialize the array, we use the brace, and all the elements are put into the brace. And the second way is the partial initialization. When we initialize array, if we give the less elements than declared elements, all uninitialized elements will be set to 0. In this example, we give just the 3 initialized values and all other remainder 7 elements will be set to 0. By using this concept, we can easily set to 0 all the elements. If we give just one initial value as 0, all the elements will set to 0. Because the first element set to 0 and then all other elements also set to 0. Third way is the implicit initialization. In this method, we leave it blank for the size of array. When we give the initialized value, the size of array is automatically determined. In this example, we give the 5 elements. The size of array is 5. But any variable doesn't have the size of array which is automatically determined. How we can know the size of array? Based on the implicit declaration, there is only one way to find the number of array. First, we need to figure out the entire bytes of array and then divide by the size of data type. So now we can get the exact number of elements. In this example, the entire size of array is 20 bytes and integer has the 4 bytes. So 20 divided by 4 has the 5. So this array has the 5 elements. Now let's get back our slide. Let's think of the left code snippet. It has a compile error or runtime error. Yes, it may cause a runtime error. You must provide an initialization list if you leave out an array size declaration. Otherwise, C++ doesn't know how large to make the array. Now let's move to 7.5, the range-based for loop. Range-based for loop was introduced in 2011, so when you compile the range-based for loop, if you see some errors, you need to include the option the C++11. Here is the basic format of a range-based for loop. First, we need to specify the data type to access the element, and then any variable name, and then colon followed by array name. This is the syntax of range-based for loop. Now let's take a look at some code examples. Here is some code examples, and I'm going to show this example in VS Code. Here is the first code segment to use the range-based for loop. I will specify integer data type and then use the variable name value, and then the array name is numbers. And let's compile and run this program. Now we print out all values by using the range-based for loop. And now I'm going to one more example with the string arrays. And also we are going to use the range-based for loop for this string array. And then compile and run this program. And here is the result of a range-based for loop. There are pros and cons. Pros is that it is simple and easy to use. And for cons, we cannot know the index number when we access the value. Now let's take a look at another example which uses a reference variable in the range-based for loop. In this example, we are going to understand why we need the reference variable when we make the range-based for loop. We have to use the reference variable to modify the contents of an array with the range-based for loop. During the for loop iteration, its range variable contains only a copy of an array element. So you cannot use a range-based for loop to modify the contents of an array, because the copied value is a totally different space from the original element in an array. When you try to add 10 to the copied range-based for loop variable, the change only affects to the range variable but not the original array element. Even though we added 10 to all elements during the iteration, the array elements never been changed. The change occurred only in the copied range-based for loop variable. Thus, we print out all elements after the modification, but all elements remain 0 as the original value. So the solution is the reference variable. When we use the reference variable in the range-based for loop, we can modify the value to the original space. Because the reference variable does not use the separate copied space, it just uses the link to the original space. Let's have some discussion range-based for loop. Let's think of code for taking 5 usual integers and then stores into an array with the range-based for loop. How we can make the code for that? Are you ready to make code? Now let's make a code together. I'm going to make a declaration for constant and integer and array with that constant value. And then I will make the range-based for loop for this array. Inside the loop, I'm going to take the usual input for each array element. How about this code? Do you think it looks perfect? So what did I miss in this code? Yes, right. We need the reference variable for the range-based for loop. Because the input statement occurs the changing value into an array, so we need the reference variable for the loop variables. Now let's make some change to code. Instead of data type integer, we are going to use the auto keyword inside of the range-based for loop. The auto keyword is very useful when we don't need to consider the particular data type for each element of an array.